Le nom, il faudra qu'on le regarde. Et la première, elle a demandé de voir les
Quel palazzo bianco di dietro, vedi quello un po' bianco scuro? È tutto una...
And we also have in the back of that shuttle, we have a full-size model of the Hubble Space Telescope, and we always use that in there for testing. There's also a thermal vacuum chamber in there that utilizes liquid nitrogen and big vacuum pumps to make it about equivalent to 400 miles out in space. It's large enough that you could actually put a school bus in. So it's very huge. And that's all in those buildings over there. Again, these are sounding rockets right here. Sounding rockets don't go into orbit generally.
Questi sono I rocket per il suono.
Nautical term sounding. When we go into a harbor, take a sounding and see how deep it is. Well, way down we go up. So we take it up. We'll put payloads in those rockets. But a centrifuge is an object that spins things around. So around that, in that round building right there, basically there's like a stick. And on the end of the stick, we put a satellite. Then we whip that satellite around. We go about 80 miles inside that room, 80 miles an hour inside that room. We can put as much as 25 Gs, 25 times the forces of gravity onto that object, and we try to tear it up. In launch, you're not going to get 25 Gs, but you're going to come pretty close to around 12 or 15 Gs. And you need to test it to make sure that it can withstand the power of a launch. Other things that we test in that building also as well is vibration testing. We take satellites and we've got these big tables, we put them on and we shake them. 35,000 pounds of force we apply to it. And also we have big huge speakers where we bombard them with a very high decibel noise. Because rockets, when they go up, not only do any of our employees have to run around and do anything, but they can get through. You can also see in this window over here as well, and I'll kind of stand here in the middle and kind of tell you a little bit about this room. First of all, again, this is called NASSCOM, NASA Communications Center. The kinds of data that we deal with are telemetry data, data from satellites. We deal with voice communications. And we to the world through a cable system. We call it the NASA TV. It used to be called NASA Select. We now call it NASA TV. And we broadcast. That's probably what we're watching over here on the left. We do have a shuttle mission going up on Thursday. STS-69, which has a lot of Goddard experiments on it. There's quite a few Goddard experiments on this particular mission. Probably what we're looking at there is we're looking at the astronauts as they're down in, I would say that looks like Florida to me. And they're probably going to be doing some, they always like to do a little flying before they go up and kind of hone their skills a little bit. The room...
What, airplanes?
Yeah. They fly those little, like, I forget what they are, T something or others. T-37, T-38, something like that. It's all done with computers and sophisticated switching machines that are on the other sides of these walls. Who resides in here? Well, this is the comm director's chair right here, and that's the highest ranking person in this room. They're not in here at the room right now, but they are indeed in this area. The people over there in the middle console is the most senior. There's the orbiter right there, as you can see it on the screen, down at the Cape. That's the most senior person in the middle, the more junior person on the left. When the shuttle goes up, there'll be additional people in here when the shuttle flies. This console on the left over here will be staffed. That person's job will be to make sure that they're dedicated to the communications for the shuttle. Okay. We have two other consoles over here that don't have anybody in them. One called the Space Station, and the other one called the Earth Observing System. Not only at NASA do we study the universe, but we study the Earth. We use the advantages of space to look back at the Earth and be able to study it as a whole to see how it all works together. And that is the communication aspect all right here. Okay, next stop that we're going to take is we're going to go down here And there's a smaller window down here on the right, voice communication. Back there was where we do with the overall management. This is where they would actually push the buttons and make sure that things happen to get the people together that needs to talk to each other. From this facility, we can handle as many as 300 conference calls at any one time. 300 conference calls all over the world, including out of this world, if we need to, can be accommodated in here. Over 2,000 circuits is what it's currently hooked up for. And this connects us anywhere, not just to NASA facilities, but also to Moscow, different countries, and also connects us to the President of the United States from here as well. Back in the days, a little over 25 years ago, we put a very important phone call through here from a guy named Armstrong to a guy named Nixon. Okay? So technically, it came through here first. So the first words were actually heard from this room here. Clocks. Okay? Event clocks. And what we do with event clocks is basically things like countdowns. The time that you see up there right now, that's universal time. You know, NASA being a universal project, we all have to have one set standard time that we use all over the world. So that's our universal time, or in military, maybe Zulu time. You might be more familiar with that. And that kind of tells us what time it is right now. When the launch begins, we'll have on the next bracket down, we'll have the countdown. And then once it reaches 0, we'll start counting up and keep track of the elapsed time of the mission. On the bottom clock, we'll start. So you got different ways of counting and looking at the mission. All right, what we're going to do now is we're going to walk downstairs. We'll kind of wait until everybody kind of gathers up. I do a lot of other things besides that. We use a lot of volunteers to do our tours. And with volunteers in the summertime, you sometimes have a little bit of vacations well-deserved vacations for everybody. I'm the manager of the visitor center. So I'm responsible for everything that goes on over there, which includes our teacher resource lab, outreach programs, public service announcements, the whole 9 yards.
Actually, let me just come in here.
Go in and fiddle a little bit.
I do all this up leaving them with my computer and off the internet.
I wonder if we got our Windows 95 yet. Yes, it is a false floor. That's so that if we want to run a lot of computers and we want to run like stuff under the floor, like cables, then we can do it. We just take the floor up, and then then we have kind of an area under the floor about this big that we run cables all around. This is the International Ultraviolet Explorers Control Room, right here.
State of the art in 1978.
Okay, again, 1978. And this, one of the reasons, obviously, you have to have a satellite in orbit to deal with the ultraviolet is because our atmosphere shields us from most of the ultraviolet rays. But ultraviolet tells us a whole lot about the universe. So it's very important to us that we have instruments that can do this. So we'll walk by this, and then we'll go upstairs. So again, if you all kind of keep real tight now, as we go upstairs, we're going to go right into the Hubble. I have to have a little lock key to get us through there, so I need everybody to stay kind of tight. Getting a workout?
I tell you, my age, this is something.
Oh my gosh, you let me know, because if you get tired, I'm sure this gentleman will be glad to carry you back.
Oh, no. My grandson would probably say run, Grandma.
Oh, come on. All right, are we getting pretty much close to the caboose?
Yeah.
Is the caboose in sight?
Yes.
Okay.
Man from Uncle or something?
Oh, God, now we're 30 years behind. Well, one this morning, that's my nephew. He'll be down shortly.
Oh, y'all can get maybe about right down there to the, right there, hang on right there, then we'll get everybody in here and I'll kind of tell you a little bit about what you're looking at and give you a few minutes to look around.
There's the orbital parameters.
Did we get everybody?
This exact settings.
Everybody here? All right, let me just take a few minutes just to tell you a little bit about what we do in here. Again, and we do need to make sure that if people are walking through here, we give them just enough room so that they can kind of go in and out of here without too much of an obstacle on our part. This is the control room for the Hubble Space Telescope. Our job here is to make sure that the Hubble Space Telescope is pointed where it should be pointed and functioning as it should be functioning. Basically what happens, it's kind of a complicated process, but I'm going to kind of try to make it as simple as I can. Over at Johns Hopkins University, on the site of Johns Hopkins University, is an organization called the Space Telescope Science Institute. What they do over there is they kind of decide what they would like the telescope to look at and the kind of observations they would want. They go through a peer review of scientists and determine what we're going to do. They kind of coordinate that and plan out a strategy to have that happen. Then what they do is they send that over here and then we implement it. One is NASA's real main role is to stimulate technology, to keep on the cutting edge and to force technology to go forward. It also forces education and stimulation and motivate, hopefully, our youth to try to learn and to explore. There's also a tremendous amount of spin-off benefits that happen because of this. There is no Fox photo up in space, okay? You can't just take the film and send it back here. So we have to transfer all this information back digitally. We capture the information on things called CCDs, charged coupled devices, about 500,000 little sensors. And all those sensors give it a value. And then they send those values back to Earth and then we recreate it. By virtue of doing that, we've learned things. We've now learned in the medical field how to use that technology.
Okay, as we go inside a Gemini, a mock-up of the Gemini spacecraft. We're inside to take a seat, we won't use it right. This will be inside the Gemini capsule. Imagine spending 14 days with Richard Bassey inside this thing. This is about the size of 2 phone booths stuck together. This is the first spacecraft that had a computer and a door. Richard, door here above my head that opens up. Yeah, pointing to it. See?
Welcome aboard a mock-up version of the Gemini spacecraft. Gemini spacecraft were a major part of America's space program in 1965 and 1966.
You can actually press these buttons, Robert is ejected. So I'll just quickly press these buttons.
The first American spacewalk was conducted on a Gemini mission. Some Gemini missions lasted for as long as 14 days. Imagine what it was like to be a Gemini astronaut. Stand 1 TC coming up on 2 minutes. Stand by for stage 1 pre-valve open. Stand 1 TC, launch vehicles transferring internal power. Stand by for engine gimlet. Stand 1 TC, Space super valve coming open in 5 seconds. Minus 30 seconds. Audio is 12. Well, Tony, stand by for my mark, 147.
If you want, I'll take a side view of it from outside.
Yes,
Pause.
camera's not running.
Pause it in.
Inside a Gemini, and I'm going to press a abort switch and the capsule will pop off the top of the rocket.
I press this button here up on the switch.
I'm going to take your picture as well that way. Right, and I'm going to take some still pictures.
If you press that triple pitch.
You must learn English if you want to travel. She learns at school. She doesn't speak very much here.
C'est quoi là-dedans pendant
Ah non.
6 jours? Là, je me vois.
Ah non.
Where is it from?
S'il y a de la bouffe,
France.
France only.
s'il y a du chocolat.
What? I'm getting a thing in there.
Just the whole thing.
The gift shop.
Are you guys ready to jet?
Aye. If not, you'll take it on 10 minutes anyway.
Wait, take my picture with the fronting.
Right.
Did you say something about your visit to the Goddard Space Centre? Tell me about back home.
It's still taping.
It's taping.
It's been very enjoyable, even though my camera conked out halfway through it.
What was the most interesting thing, Richard, you saw when you were at the NASA Centre?
I think going round where they take the Hubble.
Round the Hubble Telescope control room.
Correct.
Very good.
Press button.
So it's here outside the Goddard Space Centre. We're waiting for our taxi to come, and then we get the metro, and then we're going to visit the FBI next.